Well, good morning. It's Michael Douville, and it is Saturday, February 6th. Tuesday on the live webinar, we talked about fix and flips. Now, everybody understands what a fix and flip is. Everybody loves them. You can do very, very well with them, but you can also lose money. Now, we're in a great market to do that. We're in what we call the accumulation phase, going into the explosive phase in the real estate cycle. So this is really a really good time for you to start thinking that maybe this is something you want to do. But of course, when you get a fix and flip, it is a process and it is a business. It's a strategy. And when we're talking about $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million, we're not doing this shooting from our hip. We actually have a process. So the process is you find a property that you think is a great candidate. You go out and look at the property and do a conditions report, a thorough conditions report to take a look at the property as to what you think needs to be done to the property. Now, one has to be careful because properties run a gamut. You can get a 50 or 60-year-old property. You can get one that's 2 or 3 years old. Obviously, every one of these properties has aged differently. Oftentimes when you're getting a fix and flip, there's an emphasis on fix. So there's often problems in these properties, and you need to make sure that you understand what all the problems are. Now, an older property, you can have problems with electrical, where they actually need to redo the entire electrical system and put in new breaker boxes and new junction boxes. You can have plumbing. Now, even here in Phoenix and Scottsdale, Arizona, we have some older properties. They have galvanized pipe. Now, galvanized pipe has a 50-year lifespan. Well, these properties are 60 years old, so they're at their lifespan and beyond, which means that you're probably going to get into it. It's not going to be just replacing fixtures. It's going to be replacing pipe. And you have to take the old pipe out and put the new pipe in. It talks about moving drywall and sheetrock, and what if you got plaster? Oftentimes then your sewer line is also galvanized. That has to be done, so which is fine as long as you've accounted for that in your repairs, is that you know exactly what it is that it's going to cost to redo the building. Not only that, but there is a expertise as to put in the right replacement equipment. So if you happen to really like metal cabinets from Germany that are glossy and really smooth, and this is what you really like, you better be sure that the market that you're going to sell into, they love that German metal cabinet as well. Because oftentimes they kind of like a white cabinet. Seems to be in vogue right now. You can sometimes paint them, just depends on what the frame is and what the wood grain is. And if that works, that's fine. But if you spend $4,000 or $5,000 putting the wrong cabinet in that people don't like, you're not going to get compensated for your work. Same with countertops and appliances. It's pretty easy. We often say that you should really be working in your universe of homes. Now, this is where we do an awful lot of our investment work, and a fix and flip would fall right into that. And when you're in your universe of homes, you're dealing in a product that you've done before. You're very aware of what people expect. You're very aware of what kind of problems you're probably going to encounter. You know the age of the equipment, you know what kind of equipment's in there. So you've probably done this before. That's an experiential knowledge that really makes a big difference. So obviously in a business you do a conditions report so that you know what needs to be done, and of course that's soup to nuts. So that's looking at landscape, that's looking at roof, that's looking at plumbing, electrical, windows, insulation, appliances. It's a pretty in-depth report that you want to take a look at. You then need to know what is the value of this property as it sits right now, because it's a fix and flip. So you can't necessarily use a comp, because unless you have a whole neighborhood full of fixes, they don't make value. So you need to make sure that this $300,000 property, and I think it's worth $300,000, is worth $300,000 in the condition it sits, the condition that you're looking at right now. And that's most important. This is where lots of mistakes are made, is that we overvalue the property because we want it. We want to do a fix and flip. We want to do this, but we want to make sure that we understand what the cost of that property is right then and there. What's the value of that property? So if it's worth $300,000 and we can purchase the property for back of that and get some value, we want to get a margin of error just in case we encounter things that we didn't expect. We want to make sure that we're looking, this is a profitable enterprise that we're looking for. We want to make sure we're going to make some profit on this property. You then need to make sure of the cost of repair. You need to go line item by line item, check and double check. So if you think you're going to replace these properties with this German metal cabinet and this is going to add so much value to your property, how much is that cabinet? How long does it take to get that cabinet? What are the colors? Are the colors exactly correct? Because people are very, very color oriented. They want beauty sells. And what's the cost of installation? So you need to know what all these costs are. Absolutely not guesstimates. You need to know what the cost is going to be. And of course, that goes through all the items. What is the cost of repair? How much is this going to cost me to repair this property? And how long is it going to take? First off, you're tying up your capital, but not only are you tying up capital, if you're on a loan or if you're doing a hard money loan or you're just using your cash, that cash has a value in itself, so you need to figure out if it's going to take me 3 months, what's the cost of my capital going to cost me? Also, when you fix and flips, you realize that you're paying both sides of the sales cost. So not only do you have costs going in, you have costs going out. No one's going to do this for free, so you need to factor into your cost of sales. You've got title fees, you've got escrow fees, you've got inspection fees, appraisal fees. There's just tons and tons of fees. That's the cost of the project. And most important, once I'm done with this project, what is it worth completely rehabbed? So what's the value of rehabilitation? And what is it going to sell for? Not what I think it's going to sell for or I hope it's going to sell for. You need to look at the comparables because maybe it's going to take you 60 days. They're not going to change that drastically. So you need to look and say, if I put $50,000 into this property, am I going to get 100 back or am I going to get 55 back? If I'm going to get 55 back and it costs the sales of $75,000, this could be a loser. We don't want to do this just to make the neighborhood look better. We want to make a profit. So there's a process to this. You need to put your spreadsheets down, make sure you know all your costs going in, coming out, what the value of the property is going in, what the value of the property is coming out, how long it's going to take you to do that, and what's your margin if it's worthwhile doing. Now, we're more than happy to get involved with you to do that. There is a process. We teach this. We have all our forms for this. And if you have any questions, if there's anything we can do about this, I'm more than happy. How to reach me. It's michael@michaeldouville.com. You can call me at the corporate office, 602-942-4200. My very best to you. Bye-bye now.